Hello and welcome to Big Dash Knows. Big Dash knows what? A lot of stuff is going on right now. That's what I know. Today's video is going to be a preview of minicamp, but as we all know, unless you've been sleeping under a rock, there was some news that hit the airwaves yesterday via social media, via Saquon Barkley, and of course it's going to be a hot topic now. For me personally, not surprised at the situation at all. Not surprised that he wasn't going to show up to minicamp. He couldn't show up to minicamp. How? He does not have a contract. He's not even allowed in the building. How's he going to participate in minicamp? So it is what it is when it comes to Saquon Barkley. I will say this though, after seeing a couple of those videos, at his football camp, and they were able to get some comments from him. I will say this though, to me, it seems like Saquon Barkley's feelings are hurt, rightfully so. I just got to put myself in Saquon Barkley's shoes. You are a prize for a long time. From high school to Penn State, from Penn State to the New York Giants with the number 2 pick, being one of the highest paid running backs already in the history books, is one of the highest paid running backs, coming out in NFL history. And now, because of a position that has been devalued, the numbers are what the numbers are now, and he feels like the love isn't there. And he doesn't like the fact that, there were leaks coming out that pretty much shine a bad light on his character, saying that he wanted things that he didn't want, and people saying that he was saying things that he didn't say. But here's the thing, that's one side of the story. The thing will play out the way that it plays out. But I absolutely feel for Saquon Barkley in this situation. Now, again, I'm a Giants fan, and I'm going to be a Giants fan for a long time. I've been a Giants fan since before Saquon Barkley was even born. So at the end of the day, it's going to be team first for me. And for me, I think the team needs to do what's best for them, and they'll figure out what that is. I'm just going to be here to comment on the sideline like I always do. So I just wanted to get that out of the way first, because this is a hot button topic right now. That's all you're going to hear about probably for the next couple of days. But just letting you guys know, I expected this to happen just the way that it's happening right now. I do expect that Saquon Barkley will eventually sign that tag, because I don't think when it comes to the numbers and getting this contract that's going to play itself out into a part where Saquon Barkley is going to be absolutely happy. So that's where I'm at right now. Saquon Barkley, in my opinion, will be a New York Giant in 2023, whether that be on a tag or that be, a contract. We'll see what that is, and we'll see how that plan out. Now, getting into minicamp, let's get right into minicamp. Camp battles. That's the number one thing I want to talk about. We saw last week that the offensive coordinators, defensive coordinator, even special teams coordinator, all went to the podium last week, asked a bunch of questions, asked about certain players, schemes, expectations for year 2 and things like that. So I want to talk about some camp battles, and the number one battle for me personally is the interior linebacker spot. Now, it's not really a battle for all the linebacker spots. We already know Bobby Okereke is going to be the number 1 linebacker, 3-down linebacker. He's going to be the guy on the field, possibly a green dot candidate as well. We can talk about that a little bit later, but it's about who's going to be the guy next to Bobby Okereke. Got the biggest hopes for Darian Beavers. You saw that Wink Martindale talked about Jared Davis. He also said that Michael McFadden really impressed him, really improved so far, through the OTAs. Now, again, we're talking about practices on air. So if he's saying that Michael McFadden improved, he's talking about coverage most likely, assignments, being able to read plays and flow, with the traffic, flow with the motion of the plays. So I believe, yes, that Michael McFadden probably did improve, but we'll see what happens when the pads are on. And I just think it's a different kind of monster once those pads come on, if you allow these guys to hit. And obviously minicamp is minicamp. We really won't see any real hitting until training camp. But it's just something that I took note of, is when he was asked about the guy that was going to be next to Bobby Okereke. Even the reporter threw Beavers in there, but Wink Martindale decided to add Jared Davis and add Michael McFadden to that competition. And in a previous interview, he mentioned more Jared Davis than Michael McFadden, but just to know that you're looking at three guys that are fighting for that spot, three main guys that are fighting for that spot. I can talk about one of the UDFAs that we picked up, Deontay Johnson, possibly having a shot as well, but it's pretty much going to be a long shot for him just to make the team, let alone starting. But again, that's one of the camp battles. The second camp battle is going to be about the safety spot. And again, we saw a lot of things happen. We picked up Bobby McCain. I have him penciled in as a starter next to Xavier McKinney. And then we saw in OTAs that Nick McLeod was getting some reps at safety. And then you heard about how impressive the rookie from Houston, Javarius Owens, was. And Dane Belton's trying to put his state his claim on a position as well, talking about he wants to be the best the best player on the team, things like that. That's the type of things you want to hear. Now, this is what you call, in my opinion, a healthy battle. All of these guys, again, you have Bobby McCain that has experience. We played against him in the NFC East when he played for the Commanders. We also played against him, I believe, when he was with Miami. I think when we played Miami that one year, he was on that squad too. But the guy has experience. He is a smaller guy. He's only about 5'9", about 190 pounds. He might be 200 pounds, but he could be a liability as a straight safety. But for me, I'm thinking about these young guys now, and I'm kind of surprised at how impressive Javarius Owens is, because he's been known to be a physical thumper type safety, and then all he's done in OTAs is proven that he can make plays in the pass game. And he could be one of those guys that, when it comes to August in the preseason, you're gonna have him, and then you're gonna have Bobby McCain, you're gonna have Dane Belton, all fighting for this position. I think that's a healthy battle to have going into training camp, and whoever wins that position, in my opinion, earned it. Now, there's another guy, Jason Pinnock. He's another guy you throw into the mix. So that safety position might even be even more interesting than a linebacker spot. But again, that's the two main camp battles that I'm looking at. And again, this all starts in minicamp, and then we get into training camp with that. So curious to see what happens the next couple of days during this minicamp. Other thing I want to talk about is the rookie impacts. Now, Hyatt, JMS, Banks. I already talked about the safety that was drafted in the later round, but I want to talk about some of the rookie expectations. Now, John Michael Schmitz, definitely going to be a starter. Deontay Banks, definitely going to be a starter. This is barring injury. And both of these guys have to have a solid year. Now, I understand that these guys are still rookies. You're going to have your rookie bumps and things like that, but we need to have solid and consistent play from these guys. John Michael Schmitz, even more, in my opinion, than Deontay Banks. I think what John Michael Schmitz is doing is very, very valuable, not only to the quarterback, but also into the entire offensive line and also to the running game as well. John Michael Schmitz just plays a big role, a very, very big role in what this offense will be able to do moving forward. I believe him to be very, very stout in the run game. I believe he will be solid in the passing game, and as long as he can take those steps in order to communicate with the offensive line, call the right coverages, call the right blocking schemes, and then the offensive coordinator begins to trust him, you will see this playbook open up. On the other side, we have Deontay Banks, and Wink Martindale talked about him in an interview last week as well. Talk about all his skill, what his skill sets are, what he likes most about him. His mental preparation, and then his attitude. So even if he has a bad play, he throws it away. He throws it away and he gets ready for the next play. So he has that amnesia, and you need that for a cornerback. So you're not going to make every play, but you need to make most of the plays. So that's what I expect the impact is going to be for Deontay Banks. And then the other guy I want to talk about is Hyatt. Now, we've read and we've seen in OTAs, they've reported in OTAs how he's building that chemistry with Daniel Jones and also Tyrod Taylor. He's able to get free. He's able to show his speed in OTAs. And we already know how fast this guy can be. For me, it's going to be about how they use him, where they use him, and how they're going to scheme for this guy. Now, he can play the decoy. He can play the deep threat. And I think right away, day one, even if he's an unproven wide receiver, you have to respect the speed. You have to respect what the man put on camera. Put on film in college. And for me, Jalen Hyatt, I would love a spectacular season. I'll say that first. I would love a spectacular season from Jalen Hyatt. We saw the video of Odell Beckham talking directly to Jalen Hyatt, said, don't break any of my rookie records to set in there. Like, I don't think that's going to be a threat, really. I would love for him to break Odell Beckham's records. That means that the team is probably doing very, very good if he does that. But I don't want to put those expectations on the kid this early, especially we haven't even seen him in preseason yet. So I would hate to put all that weight on his shoulders. But I will say this: I think he has a chip on his shoulder already, because of the stigma he had coming out of Tennessee, especially with the type of offense that they ran. And if you want to say people doubting, me being one of those guys, what his route tree was. And I can't do anything but root for the kid now, especially, first of all, because he's a New York Giant. Second of all, because the potential is there. You can't teach that type of speed. The kid has sure hands. And when you match that up with still having something to prove, and to be that talented but still feel like you have something to prove, it might be a recipe for something fantastic. So that's just a quick talk about these rookies. Next, I'm going to talk about the UDFAs, because a lot of people keep asking about Bryce Ford-Wheaton and where I see him fitting in, and what kind of impact could he have. And I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. I don't know. I like his skill set. I like his breakdown. I like 6'4", 220 pounds, 4.38 speed, things like that. But how do you fit on this roster? How do you fit into the scheme? Is he strictly an outside wide receiver? Can he play a little bit of slot? I think he needs to be as versatile as possible. I think he needs to be able to even play special teams in order to make this roster. And it's been a long time since the New York Giants can say, or New York Giants can cut good players. Not saying that he's going to be cut, but as a UDFA, and you're looking at this wide receiver room on the New York Giants, it's a lot stronger than it's been in a long time, a very, very long time. And when I first, thought about Bryce Ford-Wheaton, I'm like, he's absolutely going to make the team. You're going to create an extra roster spot just to get this guy on the team, because he won't make it to the practice squad. And then you're reading OTAs, and you got guys like Colin Johnson coming back, and you're thinking about Sterling Shepard. He's looking like he's ahead of schedule. Wan'Dale Robinson is back out there already catching on the sideline. And you're really playing a numbers game. It's like, well, are the New York Giants going to keep 7 wide receivers, or are they going to keep 8 wide receivers? I think 8 wide receivers is going to be a ridiculous number. I think 7 is actually where we're going to be, but it could be 6, it could be 8. And like I said, in my opinion, I think 7 is going to be that number for the wide receiver room. And when you really look at it in value, when you get to that 4th, 5th, actually, when you get to that 5th, 6th, 7th receiver, they have to give you special teams value. And if Bryce Ford-Wheaton, even though we paid him like the highest contract for UDFA, he has to show his versatility and his value on this team, not just as a wide receiver, but also as a special team contributor. Another guy I want to talk about as a UDFA going into minicamp is Baldonado, defensive end from Pittsburgh that we picked up. Now, he can be a hand in the dirt type of guy, but for his size, he's probably going to be a guy that stands up edge rusher. Possibly going to be behind Kayvon Thibodeau, behind Azeez Ojulari. And when I look at the depth chart, I'm seeing O'Shane Ximines and Ellison Smith and Jihad Ward behind Azeez and Kayvon Thibodeau. And we need a lot of depth. I can even see us doing a move where we pick up another free agent. But Baldonado, in my opinion, has a chance to hang around. He has a chance to hang around. I won't say he has a chance to make the team, but I think he definitely has a chance to make the practice squad, hang around, and possibly get brought up a lot this season. But we'll see what happens in camp. He can blow us all away and be a guy that we cut O'Shane Ximines or we cut Ellison Smith, and then now you have Baldonado. Actually, I don't believe Ellison Smith makes the squad this year. Just not reliable enough. And then I'll take the flyer on a Baldonado over Ellison Smith right now today. Deontay Johnson, I mentioned him earlier as far as interior linebacker. He's another guy that has to show his versatility, especially on special teams. You have guys like Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. Cam Brown being pretty much almost a Pro Bowler when it comes to special teams. But again, it's special teams. And if Deontay Johnson can show that he can be good in special teams, but also have some value as an actual, in-play linebacker, then, you might see a guy like Carter Coughlin not make it, or Cam Brown not make it because you can trust these younger guys to make these plays. I think one of those guys actually stays, whether it be Cam Brown or Carter Coughlin, but I can see Deontay Johnson making enough noise in order to make the squad. Now, there was another request. I had a comment in the last video about Alex Cook, the safety we got out of Washington. And for me, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. Now, unlike everybody else that's going for that position that next to McKinney, a guy like Alex Cook, in my opinion, is a guy that can play behind McKinney. A versatile type of safety. And we already know about the Pac-12 secondary. They have some good guys coming out of Washington. Got a good secondary coach out there in Washington. And Alex Cook had a pretty bad injury, and he missed a lot of games the previous year, but was able to bounce back. Alex Cook has a certain skill set. Alex Cook is a guy that I don't see making the team, but I do see him possibly hanging around on the practice squad, kind of like how Trenton Thompson did last year. And Trenton Thompson is another name at safety. Like, it's going to be some great battles. When you really think about it, it's going to be some great battles. And then for a lot of people that don't watch preseason games, or they turn the TV off after the starters are out of the preseason games, this is going to be one of those years where you really want to pay attention and watch these preseason games all the way through, because it's going to be some guys that are very, very talented. And for me, I'm a football junkie. I'm gonna, and there's certain people that I'm rooting for too, to do good, to see if they can possibly sneak on to the 53, or at least make it to the practice squad, or who I would sign to the practice squad. But I'm like, yeah. Preseason is going to be very, very valuable. It's going to be fun to watch, especially if you have some interest in some of these guys on the bottom of the depth chart. All right, so outside of that, like I said, this is just a preview. Already going a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I want to talk about the second year guys, expectations. Neal, Flott, Tibbs, Belton, McFadden, Beavers. All these guys have to show that last year's class has value. Now, Neal, Tibbs, we already know what the deal is with them. These guys are going to be starters. Flott, probably going to be a starter at the nickel. Now, Belton, McFadden, Beavers, these guys have to show what they can do. Azudu is another one that has to show what he can do. Marcus McKeithen showing some versatility. They got him at right tackle, third team right tackle. These guys this is the year where they need to show that it was a mistake that these guys got drafted when they got drafted in this class, this first class for Joe Shane. A lot riding on these guys. For the third year guys that I'm looking at, it's going to be Azeez Ojulari. And can he bounce back from that injury-filled season where he missed a lot of games? As long as he can stay healthy, we already know what kind of player Azeez Ojulari is. And then when it comes to Aaron Robinson, I don't know. Where's he at in his injury with his rehab? ACL, MCL, both last year. Knee pretty much got shredded up. Where is he going to be at? Is he possibly one of those bubble guys that probably won't make the team because of these injuries, or does he start the year on the PUP list? We don't know with Aaron Robinson. That's a bad injury to come back from. And then the last thing I want to talk about is expectations for the free agents. I talked about Bobby O earlier, but I also want to talk about A'Shawn Robinson and what he brings to this team, what he brings to that defensive front that we've been missing. Last year we got ran over, pretty much one of the worst teams when it came to run defense. A'Shawn Robinson is a direct answer to that. Joe Shane saw a weakness in the defense and he addressed it. A'Shawn Robinson, coming off of an injury, expect him to be fully healthy by the time we get into training camp and definitely into preseason. I expect him to play a little bit. That's going to be a big impact. Nacho as well from Tampa Bay is going to be a big impact. A question I have is in the secondary, the Detroit Lions, the kid we picked up from the Detroit Lions, Amani Aruwariye. Where does he fit in? Where does he fit in? And I had a certain scenario where a lot of these receivers in the NFC East are versatile. We saw it with the Dallas Cowboys, and you have, CeeDee Lamb going into the slot. And Adoree Jackson has proven that he can play both outside and also play slot corner. And depending on how Flott is playing, do you travel, or do you allow Adoree Jackson to follow certain players into the slot? And I think that's something that we'll find out early this year, because we do play the Cowboys week 1. I believe that they'll let Flott try to hold it down, but if Flott shows that he can't do it, I wonder how Amani plays in. If Adoree Jackson goes into the slot to cover CeeDee Lamb, do you put Flat on the outside, or do you put a guy like Amani on the outside in those certain defensive packages where Adoree Jackson is following somebody? So, it's just a couple things that I'm looking forward to. Again, the minicamp won't address all these questions, but minicamp is here. Minicamp is here, and it's going to be more Giants news out there for us to know. And I'm just so excited that, we're getting closer and closer to the regular season, closer and closer to training camp. And just the reports, the expectations, the excitement for the year, especially from a lot of fans, is that the New York Giants want to prove that last year was not a fluke. Yes, the schedule is tougher this year, but also the New York Giants are tougher as well. And I can't wait to prove a lot of people wrong as far as expectations. That'll be other teams' fan bases as well as people in our own fan base. I can't wait to see what these New York Giants do and how they improve and how they open up this offense and how the defense becomes even more sturdy than what they were last year. Just overall excitement. So if you guys are excited like I'm excited, please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.